Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I'm interviewing an agency owner who does $50 million per year. Among other things, Edward Pritchett has graduated from Yale, written a book, and built a multi-family real estate empire. And in this video, he's going to be sharing his secrets to building wealth and getting rich in the insurance industry. So, Edward, welcome to the channel. I'm excited to have you on.
And Tim, appreciate the opportunity. Love what you guys are doing. It's cool to watch others build themselves up through what we have access to here in the insurance industry. I mean, in my opinion, there's no industry like insurance, which is why I do enjoy talking about it. So honored to be able to be here with you and have this conversation.
Absolutely. Likewise, man. It's great to have some heavy hitters on the channel and be able to pick your brain and just share advice with our community. So, for people who don't know you, can you just kind of give like a brief background on who you are, how you got into the industry, and just kind of what's led us up until this point?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be quick because I know if you're watching this, you're trying to figure out like how can I make more money, build a huge business, become a millionaire, multimillionaire, whatever that might be. Like you're wanting to get something. And what I can share is like, I started off middle class American family, dual income household. I had a dream of going to Yale University, and a lot of things aligned, right? Like, yes, I worked hard, but I had great mentors, great instruction, which I credit that for helping me and allowing me to get there. Loved every minute at school. Well, not every minute. I mean, there's some pretty rough tests and some not so good grades, stuff like
Right.
that. But I loved it in the sense that it expanded my vision. Like I grew up in Western North Carolina, a little town that people know the name now, Asheville, North Carolina. Had a lot of flooding from
I'm
Hurricane
from
Maria.
Greensboro, by the way. We're both from North Carolina.
Yeah. So Asheville. I don't
Oh
have to
yeah.
explain it to you. But not this huge metropolis, right? I had kind of a limited vision of what was possible. We saw what was on TV, what was in the magazines. And I remember my dad used to get the Rob Report. I think it's like the magazine for the affluent lifestyle. I'm like, Dad, why we can't afford anything in this magazine? He was like, I'm trying to expand your vision. I want you to, you can have these things, right?
Mhm.
Being at Yale really exposed me to that. Got out of college in '05, right before the Great Recession hit. Great Recession. I was no longer an engineer anymore. There are a lot of engineers that lost their jobs, just like a lot of everybody lost their job during the
Right.
Great Recession. And I was just trying to figure out like how can I make an income, and that's what led me into if you can sign your name, you can get hired to be an insurance agent. Let's all let's all be honest, right? Like
Heartbeat and a social security number.
yeah, exactly. You got a social security number. You can sign your name. Well, and of course, you got to be able to hopefully pass the test.
Right.
Um, so started working for a captive agency for a couple of years.
Okay.
Um, Learned enough about the industry to say, okay, there's something here, but I'm not making. I can't really. This isn't going to be where I make a lifestyle for myself and the family that I wanted to ultimately have one day.
Right.
That's when I switched over to the independent side. Became a broker back in 2010, and have started building my agency then. And I haven't looked back. It's now been 15 years. It'll be 15 officially this coming October. But like 15 years of this industry showing me more of the world than I ever thought possible,
Yeah.
allowed me to do things for my family that I never thought was possible. Like I lived in Nashville, but like I've been able to move to Puerto Rico, live in an amazing neighborhood. My 4 kids get to grow up in an amazing community. Private schools. We get to go. This past summer, we were in Europe for 8 weeks, just kind of touring around with the whole family. Like it's stuff like that. Like I didn't imagine that when I got into insurance 17 years ago, Tim. Like, I
Right.
wasn't like it was like, can I make $30,000 this year? That's what I was thinking back in 2008. But leveraging what this industry can do has allowed for me to provide for my family in a way that I know now I have a legacy business. I have
Mhm.
something that no matter what, like you can take all the other stuff that I've done, like it can disappear and be taken away.
Yeah.
My insurance practice, man, I don't think people are gonna stop buying insurance anytime soon. So 50 years from now, my son can be like, I'm glad Dad went ahead and stuck with this thing, you know?
Yeah, it's that's right. I think a lot of people my age as well, they kind of chase the like new, shiny, flashy, sexy industries, but like give me the boring business that's been around for thousands of years and is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Ask Warren Buffett. That's what he does. So,
True.
good enough for him. I think we can probably learn a couple things.
Yeah, no doubt. And so for people that are, maybe they're newer into the industry, like we're talking about, they want to build wealth, they want to live that lifestyle. But like, when you first get in, you're making phone calls. It's hard to see like the grand vision. So kind of like paint the picture for people like what is actually possible in this industry. And then I want to get into like the specifics of kind of how you built your business up and ultimately like how you recommend people to get started. But like starting off, just like paint the vision of like what's actually possible. What kind of income is achievable? What's doable in this business?
Well, I mean, let's break down the numbers, right? LIMRA, Life Insurance Marketing and Research Association. Okay, they every year they do tons of research about the life insurance industry, health insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, PNC. All right, so for whatever type of insurance you are in, you can find some really good information and data there. But I know life insurance, that's my core, so I'll talk about life insurance. But the average premium per month that clients in the US are paying for life insurance right now is just over $91 a month. All right. So let's do the math on that. $91 a month. We know we get paid based off of that first year's premium typically. So $91 a month. I got my calculator. Like, I'm good at math, but like somebody's gonna fact check me and then but $91 a month, that's $1,092 per year in premium,
Okay.
right? And
Yep.
for most people's contracts, if you're on a 100% contract, that means over the course of the year, that insurance company, if that policy stays on the books, is going to pay you $1,000, 1,092 to be precise,
Yep.
right? If I wanted to make $100,000 for the year, I got to sell 100 policies. If I want to sell 200, if I want to make $200,000 a year, I got to sell 200 policies, 300,000. Like pretty simple math, right?
Yep.
But
100%.
let's break down. Let's say I want to make $200,000 a year. 200,000, and let's say I'm going to work. I'm not going to work 52 weeks out of the year. I'm going to work 48. I'm going to take a month off. All right. So if I work 48, that means every week I just have to get 4 policies, 4.16. Right. So call it 5 just to make math easy. I got to get 5 policies issued by these insurance carriers every single week for 48 weeks, and I'll make more than $200,000 a year in gross revenue.
Hmm.
I mean, like that should be like five people. I got to convince 5 people a week to protect their families in the case of death, disability, critical illness, chronic illness, or terminal illness. Like that's what a life insurance policy does for our clients, right?
Right.
Is that really that hard of it? Like, what makes it hard? Well, what makes it hard is I got to talk to people,
Yep.
right? Like, I got to figure out how can I meet these people? How much is it going to cost me to meet these people? Am I going to need leads? Can I do it in the warm market? What carriers am I going to like? There are those parts,
The
but like when you
details.
look at
Yeah.
the fundamentals, it's pretty straightforward. Like to make $200,000 a year in this industry as an independent producer, it's kind of straightforward, right?
Yeah, it really is. When you look at the numbers that way, again, like when you factor in everything, you have chargebacks, leads, like you do have to produce more than that to net that amount. But to
Correct.
produce that amount, 4 families a week is if you're working anywhere close to remotely full time, like there's no question that you should be able to do that.
I mean, how many people do like, and I'm talking to the person who's watching this, how many people do you talk to in a given week
Hmm.
about stuff that means absolute that isn't gonna pay for your child's tuition, isn't gonna pay for the light bill? Like, how many people do you talk to every single week? How many people do you interact with on social media? How many comments are you leaving that aren't gonna help you do anything more than vent whatever you want to vent right now? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like there's just so much more time that's available than most people give credit
Hmm.
to be able to do what we do. And then the value, like I don't think most agents don't understand the value of what we do on the life side until you deliver that first death claim. I mean, you'll
100%.
hear from people who have done it all the time. I know you do a lot of work around the final expense market, right? You
Mhm.
probably, like, it doesn't take that many years at working final expense to have somebody pass away, because that's what happens. People die. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've yet to meet the person who has lived forever. They don't exist, right?
They
We
won't
all know
introduce themselves. That's the thing. They're on the moon.
right? But like, we all fundamentally know that. Our clients know that,
Yep.
and we act like this is a difficult thing to sell. We
Yeah.
act like it's a tough conversation to have. It's probably one of the best conversations you can ever have with someone, to prepare them for that. Because here's where you know it's a good conversation to have had, is when their spouse, their widow, or their child reaches out to you after they've received a death benefit. It's like, thank you for doing what you did. Like, we were
Yep.
able to bury mom the way she wanted to be buried, and didn't have to go do a GoFundMe, or a fish
Exactly.
fry, or
Yeah.
a fill in the blank, right?
Yeah.
Or like, you do that large term policy for a family with some small kids. Like, I appreciate that you took the time to sit down with us and press us a little bit, that we needed to have this covered in place. We didn't think he was going to pass away at the age of 38, but he
Right.
did. And we had $700,000, where now the mortgage is paid off. We got the money for college set aside. And I know it won't last forever, but like, his income that was coming in, I can keep things somewhat normalized for the next 5, 6, 7 years. Like,
Yeah. It
that's
makes a
what we
huge
do.
difference. It really does. It really
Yeah.
does.
And it's like, so can you find 4 to 5 people a week that can understand that can grasp that, and
Yeah.
have that conversation, and help them put that protection in place? And you can make that kind of an income as a personal producer. And then to scale that up, it's just, how do you find other people who want to learn how to do that as well, because you've done it? So they want to learn how you've done it and go out and do it as well. And the insurance carriers, they pay us based off of the value that I bring to them, in the sense
Mhm.
of how much premium flows from clients to the carrier, and it passes through me, right?
Mm. Yeah.
In 2023, we still don't have the numbers yet. The Treasury Department puts out a report every single year. We don't have 2024 numbers yet. But 2023, there was just over $1.3 trillion of premium that came from people in America, including corporations and businesses, that went from those individuals to insurance carriers on the life and annuity side. That's not including
Just on
health
life and
insurance.
annuity.
That's not including health insurance. That's not including property and casualty. That's just life and annuity premium. And people are
That's
saying
insane.
nobody's buying insurance. Well, you're just not talking to them. That's what that boils down to, because
Yeah.
somebody's buying a whole bunch of life insurance right now.
Yeah. No question. I mean, the amount of money in the industry, like there's no cap to it at the end of the day. I mean, 1.4 trillion, you can say, oh, there's a cap, but you're never going to even get close to remotely scratching the surface of
By the
that.
time you reach that cap, you're worried about all different things. Like,
Yeah.
you're past what Elon is worrying about at that point in time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're trying to send people to Jupiter at that point.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I mean, the potential is huge from an agency owner perspective. I mean, what like if someone is going to really commit themselves to this industry and like build a real business and an enterprise, like we're going to talk about later, like how much money can they realistically make per year? Like what's possible at the top levels? Because we know that if someone commits themselves as a producer, there's no question you can make 200, 300,000 a year. And
Yeah.
just in case the FTC is watching, neither Edward or I are making income claims. We're just talking about math. All right. But from an agency owner perspective, like if someone really wants to go the distance, what's possible?
Well, I wish I could give you the honest answer, because I don't know it yet.
Okay.
Uh, I would say I have definitely gotten distracted uh, as I've built my agency, because
Hmm.
as you start having some success, you start making some money. You always hear all these things, 7 streams of income, and hey, you want to invest in this thing, and it all, like, the putting your hand to the plow and just going out there and plowing the fields and doing what you've done to get to where you are.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets like, just another old. But man, there's so much more money in this industry. Like, as a agency owner, Like I know multiple people who are making $2, $3, $4, $5 million a year as agency owners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the insurance carriers are going to compensate you based off of the amount of premium that goes through you to them.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you can figure that out, the more they're going to compensate you for, right? I know for myself, like I'm looking back, this has been an interesting start of a year, right? For me, I've really been able to reflect on, have I done everything that I could do and maximized what I have the capability to do? And I look back at last year, and there are a lot of other, like you mentioned, some of the other things. I do work in the multifamily real estate space. I've invested in other businesses and enterprises, and those have had their moments, and they're glamorous, right? Somebody told, oh, VRBO is really kicking it right now. Oh, is it? Oh, that I'd love to have multiple VRBO. It's like, okay, that's cool, but there's the other downsides of it too.
Yep.
But what I know is, in this industry, in the insurance industry, the more time and attention I give to this industry, the more it rewards me. The more
Mm.
of an expert I become, the more it rewards me.
Yeah.
And so that's been something here and I've said this before, and I hope I don't have to say it again. Like, fool me 4 times, shame on me, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
maybe this time, and we all do it. Like, there's certain things that maybe didn't learn it after the first or the second or the third, but I'm hoping the fourth time, realizing this, I can say, you know what? I made a commitment in 2025, and insurance was my primary thing. And I'm honestly, don't get scared out there. Those of you who work with me in other things like this, we're going to transition smoothly. But like, I really want this insurance to be the sole thing that I do,
Wow.
because I can see, like, again, 1 trillion, right? Like, imagine, Tim, if you had an agency that was responsible for $1 billion of premium flowing to a carrier or carriers, right? And I'm, again, calculator, 1 billion, right? That's a one with 9 zeros after it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we know how these carriers work. We're going to get paid a percentage of the volume that we send up.
Correct.
What if that percentage was what's 5%? Is there some way that I could build an agency and have $1 billion worth of premium? And we're talking about big numbers here, but remember we just said $1.3 trillion. So I'm talking about less than 1% of the entire industry.
It's like 1/1000th.
We're like, it's a tiny percent of the entire industry, because 1 trillion is 1,000 billions, right? So we're talking about less than 1/1000th of the industry. If I could figure out a way and focus my efforts and just go after that, like, my goal is to get less than 1/1000. Somebody do the math and put it in the comments, like what the actual percentage is, right? But like, if I could focus on that, and I could convince these carriers to pay me 5% on that premium, because my agents, my organization is getting the rest of it, right? Carriers will pay out 130, 140, 150% on first year premiums. 5% would be $50 million a year. 1% would be $10 million a year. Like, imagine if your agents, if you were revenue into your business $10 million a year, right? So it's like that, when we were talking about, like, how much could this scale? What could, and there's factors that happen whenever you start talking in those kind of dollars
Right.
that can change the economies of that very quickly.
Yep.
We're talking about, I'm saying 1 to 5%. There's probably some other things. 7 streams of income. That's one stream. One stream of income is, I got $1 billion worth of premium going to carriers. But
Yep.
while I have that one stream of income, what other streams within the insurance space would I
Yeah.
also have to be co-developing in order to make that $1 billion possible? That lead to additional sources of revenue, right?
100%.
Like, that's just life insurance. So now I have all these clients. How many clients is $1 billion worth of premium in clients? And what else do those clients need? Do they need wills and trust? Do they need advanced markets, do they need annuities? $1 billion in life insurance premium might be another $1 billion in annuity premium coming in.
Yeah. And then you add on tack on health insurance and other things. I mean, it's crazy.
It goes like, and that's just staying in this insurance vertical
Yeah.
without me having to go and get into real estate, going to get into this. So this is where my mind is these days. So when you ask the question, what's possible? What's the potential?
Mhm.
I don't know, but I know it's big. I know it's a lot. I don't think anybody has really fully fled. I know a lot of folks. I've spoken on some stages with a lot of people who have had their exits, and they've built large organizations and they've gone on to do other things. I have a feeling that there's someone who hasn't exited yet, who's continuing to build right now and really focused on their insurance practice, that 5, 10, 15 years from now, we're going to be hearing about, and you're going to be extremely like, everyone's going to be blown away to know what's actually possible. I don't think we haven't heard the story yet. I mean, just thinking about the fact that this whole independent channel really only started, like independent insurance sales really only started in the early 90s. Like this hasn't been around forever. It's not that old. And I know you said early 90s, that's a long time ago. I mean, that's what, 30 years ago, really, right? 35 years ago.
It's like the internet.
Compared to the insurance industry, which has been around, like if you go back to International Netherlands Group, ING, which started off as an insurance company in Dutch Holland, right? That's 1664. So like the industry's been around for a minute, right?
Yeah.
What we do on the independent channel has been around for a portion of that. And we haven't even got to get started to achieve the same things that some of the captive organizations like your MetLife's, Prudential, like those organizations are doing hundreds of like, don't trust me. Pull up the Treasury report, right? U.S. Treasury Department. They do a report on the insurance industry every year. It lists how much premium some of these large captive organizations are doing. And there are captive organizations that are doing over $100 billion a year in life premium. And those organizations have only been around since the late 1800s, right? So what are you building? Are you building for today? Or are you building to like, so you can go buy that Ferrari, the Lamborghini, yeah, you can eat a whole bunch of Wagyu steak. That's cool and all,
Yeah.
right? Or are you trying to create a business that when 20, 30, 40 years from now, when you're retired, it's not only growing, it's thriving, it's providing you income still, and your family or whoever you're leaving that to, they're like, man, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you did this. This is really cool that we get to continue to run a business and an organization like this. And we're in it now, 40 years from now, and we still don't see the limit to what we can do. Because if there's $1.3 trillion of premium flowing in 2023, what is that going to look like in 2053? How much like it's gonna grow with inflation, right?
Yeah.
Like as money gets developed, like by then it might be $5 trillion a year of premium flowing,
Easily.
and you get to keep up with it, right? Because you're still writing the same life insurance. People are going to be born and people are going to die. It's not going to go anywhere. Like I don't until they come up with like universal life insurance, which they tried that with healthcare. That didn't work. So I think we're pretty safe on the universal life insurance for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, more than likely, unless we just start living forever, then all bets are off, right?
Well, hey, annuities.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Annuities are still going to be a thing. If we can live forever,
Those will be
you
the
got to make
biggest.
sure money lives forever. So you got to have
Right.
some type of instrument to make that happen.
Yeah, unless we live forever and money becomes irrelevant, then I think we're safe.
Then we may be out of a job.
Right. Exactly.
At that
Exactly.
point in time.
So it sounds like, I mean, you have tons of knowledge. Like I've talked to a lot of agency owners, a lot of people in the space. That I don't know many people that like read the treasury report and really understand like the big picture of the industry. So you obviously have a lot of knowledge on that, and you've done your research. You're very well read in terms of how our industry works. So I think this question, I'm really curious to hear your answer on it. If someone were getting in today, what would be your path from like, I'm new to the industry, I see the potential, I'm watching this podcast or interview, whatever you want to call it, with Tim and Edward, I'm seeing the vision, I want to build the generational wealth for my family. Like, what would be the path? What would be the steps you would tell them to do to really like take advantage of what's available to them?
brand new, just got your license, I would focus on four things. And I like this because I was actually watching another interview that you did where you talked about why you decided to work with what you're doing right now. And those four things that I'd be looking for is number one, what's the system? What's the system that not that I'm going to create, right? um, you'll have plenty of time to innovate within this business. But like to start off with, you have to have a system that's ready to go,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's going to take some time, doing some research, asking real questions, right? Don't be afraid to ask. Like in this industry, people like when I first signed up to and I call it signing up, right? Like that's a dead giveaway right there. But when I started with the captive organization that I got into this industry with, I felt like I was just signing up for something, right? Like I made that decision in a 45-minute meeting, right?
Yep.
Just put my name down and yep, let me do this course and let me go start selling life insurance, right?
Yep.
That I'm glad I did it. Right. I'm thankful. Like I would not be here today had I not done that. But like if you have the capability, don't overthink, but like give it some thought. Who am I going to work with? What is the system that I'm going to do? Can I commit to the system that they're saying?
Yep.
Right. And here's the thing, it may not be, you don't have to understand and know 100% of everything whenever you get started in this industry, but you do have to be able to commit to the system that you're getting ready to start, or at least say, you know what, whatever they throw at me with this system, I'm going to do it.
How do
I'm
you
going to.
pick the right system? Because I mean, I did the same thing when I got started. If you've stalked, I don't know how much internet stalking you did before the interview, but when I first got started, I worked free gift card, direct mail, Walmart gift card leads, right? And I didn't put any thought into the system. My business partner got recruited. He was working at a restaurant. He was like, "Hey, I'm going to do this." I was like, "Oh, cool. I'll do it. I'm down. Whatever." And I saw success. And I think this is something I just talked about. I did a different interview before this. I think a good agent can see success with a bad system,
uh, Definitely.
but you're going to
Def-
see way more success without having to kill yourself on a day-to-day basis if you have a better system. So what in your mind, right? In your opinion, how do you know if it's a good system?
so ask this question as often as you can. Why? Okay, we do this. Okay, well, why do y'all do it that way? Right? Take that, like it works with our clients. But why are you looking for this? Well, we wanted to. Okay, well, why is that? Well, we want. Like, you go down that why train, and you're gonna start seeing a lot of. Well, no, we definitely need to do that, right? If I'm talking with someone about working with them, when I'm trying to evaluate a business partner, because that's what this is. Like you're talking about evaluating a business partner. Okay,
Yep.
well, why do you do this the way you do it? Okay, that makes sense. I can understand. Okay. Well, why do you do that? This? Why is the compensation like that? Why do you only have two carriers and not seven? Right? Like I'm listening to, like I want to hear that someone has been thoughtful about what they're doing. No system is perfect. There is
Mhm.
no such thing as a perfect system.
True.
Every system that you ever get into, you're gonna find you if you're in it more than 2 days, you're gonna find a flaw. At least you're a perceived flaw from your standpoint, right?
Yeah.
You're
True.
gonna find a flaw. But you can be successful in this industry in every single system if you're willing to work hard enough. Some systems are created to make that work less difficult, right? Less head against a brick wall,
Yep.
right? It's still going to be tough work, but it doesn't have to be as hard. Does that make sense?
100%. I love that.
If I understand why from someone that I'm in a partnership interview with, right? Because if you're 1099, you're not someone's employee. You're a business partner, right? They're contracting you to work with them, and so I want to understand. Well, okay, so why is the system set up this way? And anyone who gets frustrated with me asking, like, I love it when potential agents working with me when they ask me why, because I
Mhm.
always say, and then there's some things I'm like, I don't have an answer for that one. That one I continue right now. There are certain things that I do in my system that I do just on faith because it's worked for us in the past, and that's what gets us there. I can't
Yep.
explain exactly why, but like
Yeah.
I would rather know that.
But and sometimes they'll bring you ideas that you can use to make the system better.
Exactly. right? And
Yeah.
that's where innovation does come, right? Whenever you come in and you start learning a system and you actually start producing and you get results, now you can start to innovate and create within that system,
Yep.
right? But I have to earn that right. I have
Yep.
to earn the right to be innovative with the system by getting results with the system.
Right.
So that's how I figure out what's the right system. That's number one. Number two is I have to have a solid schedule, right? This is a business. If you would work 40 hours a week for Mr. and Mrs. Boss over here, what are you going to do for yourself? So many people get started in this business, and because it's independent, they're their own boss. I mean, you would think that you got like permanent vacation people, you know?
Yep.
Every little thing that comes up is not an emergency. If you were working for Mr. and Mrs. Boss at ABC job and you just popped out anytime you wanted to go dry cleaning or pick up the kids or do, like, I know those things are important. They are, right? But if you were working for somebody else, you would get fired after a certain number of times.
Right.
But we
100%.
do that for ourselves and we wonder why we're not making any income. We
Yep.
wonder why we're not producing. I can't get this to break through. Yeah, because you only actually put in 10 hours last week.
Yeah.
So
Nobody actually knows how much they're working. That's something I started doing about 2 years ago, is on my calendar, I'll literally time block out everything I do, like, if it's something stupid like responding to Slack messages, I just won't even put it on, and then I can look at the end of the day, like, here's how much time I actually spent working. I think
yeah,
a lot of agents could probably benefit from that, because
most
it just
definitely.
it's like if you don't make a budget with your dollars, they just end up going. If you don't make
They
a budget with your
show.
time, it
Yep.
just ends up passing. So I think that's
Exactly.
huge. The schedule is a huge thing. So system, schedule, consistency. What's the next piece? And this sounds like producing as an agent, and then I'm sure we'll transition to like agency building and all that.
Everything that you do to be a top producer, if you
Mhm.
do those things for your business, you'll be a top business builder.
Mm.
There's nothing different about going out and writing a whole bunch of business with a whole bunch of clients to building an agency with a whole bunch of agents who are writing a whole bunch of business.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's just different direction that you're pointing that focus at, right?
Got it.
So if you have a system, you know what, I got a schedule and I'm keeping to it. Now it's what's the actual activity that's happening in that schedule. If there's no activity happening in that schedule, like I've seen a lot of people who have really cool looking calendars, right? But then when you really like, okay, do a time audit on what you're actually doing. Like, I blocked off all this time to make dials. Okay, great. You got 3 hours for dials. How many dials did you make? I made 17. Okay. Well, good job. You made a schedule. You did no activity.
Mhm.
So you're not going to get a result.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I got a schedule, but then, like, how do we put the activity in that schedule? What's the motivation to actually go to work? You
Mhm.
know, what's keeping you at the grindstone? And sometimes it is a grind, but what's keeping me at the grindstone? What's the result that I'm going after? Why am I going after that result? Who is it going to be benefiting, not just myself? Right.
Right.
Tony Robbins talks about it all the time. It's like you have to have that emotional tie to cause actions to happen. If it's just, I want to make $100,000 a year, like, I hear that all, I'm sure you've heard it. Like, what's the number that people say that they want to make in income? $100,000
100K
a
or
year.
250 every time.
And it's like, okay, why? Why do you want to make $100,000? Spend that money for me. What's that going to do? Right. And let's not focus on the money. Let's focus on what you're spending that money on. Who are those people? Where
Yep.
are you guys going to vacation? Where are you going to live? What schools are they going to go to? What are you going to do in your free time? Like, what kind of worry does this lift from you? Right. Would 60,000 be enough? Oh, it wouldn't. Why not? You know, like, there has to be an emotional tie that gets you to do the activity.
Yep.
Right? Activity only happens when there's emotional energy to do it. Like, the energy for activity comes from emotion. So how do you get that emotional tie to then go and it's what I come back to all the time. Like, I have, like, on my wall over here, you can't see it in the video frame, but on my wall here, I have 5 pieces of paper up that have 5 very emotional things for me, that when I get tired of sitting here, and I sit here a lot, I'm on a lot of calls. Like, this is where I work. when I get tired, I look here. All right, let's get back to it,
Mm.
because the activity has to be done if I'm going to see a result. So system, schedule, activity. And the last one is I can't do all those things can be great, but if I don't have resources to work with, I don't have anything. Right?
Yep.
I can't do activity with no resources. I can't actuate a schedule if there's no resources to work with in that schedule. So resources for us are people to talk to. And so I was saying, going back to 4 to 5 policies a week, 48 weeks out of the year is more than $200,000 of revenue if I get those policies placed, right?
Right.
So, which means maybe for me with my placement ratio to get 4 to 5 placed a week that stay on the books, that might mean I have to write 8 or 10. I don't know what your numbers are, right? You do stuff long enough, a ratio will appear, right?
Yep.
Not her ratio, a ratio. So different depending on how you're hearing that. Okay. Um, and if I know what those numbers are and I do that activity, then I know I need to talk to X number of people every single week. So is that going to be leads? Is that going to be my warm market? Am I going to be doing social media marketing? Am I going out to networking events? Am I hosting? I have to do something to talk to somebody.
Yep.
Like it blows my mind that people get into this industry and think, well, somebody's supposed to give me somebody to talk to, and that's never been a way that anybody's made money. You've been given the resources, right? Like when the 49ers were like, hey, there's gold in California. All right, you want to just give me some? No. Like
Yeah.
you got to go get a pickaxe. You got to go get some Levi jeans. You got to get some buckets, whatever. I don't know what I don't know what they used to do about it. But and then they got on a train. They went out to the west, and then they're mining with certain resources to get a resource that's more valuable,
Yep.
right?
100%.
So for us, right, my Levi jeans, my pickaxe, my bucket, my what's that pan thing or whatever they,
Panhandle.
yeah, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
like that's various forms of leads. The
Yep.
gold is the policy that I sell, but like I have to invest in some kind of resources over here in order to get that gold. That gold is not just going to magically. If somebody handed me a free pair of Levi's and a free pickaxe, and I get out to California and start picking, guess what? That pickaxe is going to break in 10 minutes, and the Levi's are going to split down the middle, and I'm going to be walking around there naked trying to mine for gold. That's probably not going to work.
This is an interesting picture being painted in my mind right now.
Right? But but people do it all the time.
Yeah.
Right? They won't. I want free. You mentioned you talked about the free gift card.
It was a free lead program too.
I mean, but it was still a lead. It was a program, right? Like it was something to get you to be able to talk to somebody. My first one was no cost accidental death policies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Call up everybody that you know. We put little boxes in stores, like fill out this form, and we'll give you a no cost accidental death policy.
Yeah.
It was so that I could talk to somebody.
Right.
Right. And you can decide what scale, how do I level up what my resource is so that I can either get to the gold quicker or get to the larger deposits of gold. Right. But I have to have something, So those 4 things, like if you have those 4 things and you go to work as a producer, you will be successful if you commit to those. And the same thing on the other side of that coin, if I want to build, I need a system for building. I need a schedule to build. I need activity, and I need resources. I need people who are looking to potentially be a life insurance agent and potentially work with me. And I need to be able to talk with them and populate that schedule. And then once I get them, same thing. I need to teach them how to do those 4 things on the production side so that they can get a result. The better the result that they get, the better my agency is, the better, more we grow. Right. So that's where these things work. Like if I'm doing well on one and I do the other, man, again, and where does that stop in our industry? In a $1.3 trillion industry, how many agents could you have? I don't want to mention any names, but I know a couple of large organizations that on their rolls, they have over 200,000 on the roster, over 200,000 agents.
That's insane. I can't even fathom that that many agents. That's wild.
I mean, I can't say all of them are licensed or all of them are actually doing something, but
Yeah,
they have the, but like,
in the CRM or whatever, right?
but could there be? Could you have an agency? I think last year for our agency, like we did $50 million, right at $50 million last year. We
Yep.
had 2,100 agents write business. 2,100 agents to do $50 million worth of business, right? It doesn't take a whole bunch of agents to do a lot of business, right? If I just doubled that and everybody did exactly the same, 4,100 people to do $100 million worth of business. So for me, a billion, 41,000 agents, and I should be able to do $1 billion a year in premium. I think it's less. I really do believe it's less, right? Because as you start scaling that and you start getting those economies of scale, like this thing can take off in different ways.
Yeah.
But like you break down the numbers of this, it's why I am certainly recommitting to I got to be in this business more than I am in all this other stuff. These other things are great, but this business executed correctly with purpose, with intentionality, this is a billionaire producing business. We haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen it yet because I think people get very sad. They get to the multi-million stage and they're like, "Oh, this is nice. I'm gonna just go enjoy this," right? But like that's what's possible in the $1 trillion industry that we're in.
Yeah.
Because going back to the initial numbers that we were talking about, it's less than 1,000th of a portion of this industry. Life and annuities alone is that's over $1 billion. That's $1.3 billion as of the 2023 numbers. We'll
And
see
it
what it is
continues to grow.
for next year,
Yeah.
and it continues to grow. It's not going down. So
Amazing. Yeah. Guys, if that doesn't fire you up, I mean, if you want to make 100 or 250K a year and there's $1.4 trillion flowing through this industry, like you just need to stick a straw into the ocean and just take a sip and you're good.
little dropper.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Edward, any final pieces of advice or things that you would like to say to the people out there that are watching this that ultimately can gain a lot of inspiration from the stuff that you're doing? And again, like the fact that you're recommitting to the industry after having gone off and done all this real estate stuff, and you wrote a book, and it sounds like you've had a lot of different ventures that you've done, and you've decided that this is the thing that you should do. I think that should be very reaffirming to a lot of people out there that are maybe like questioning whether or not this is the industry to be in.
Well, and I mean, even with something like writing the book, which is titled "Tax Free Living," the core part of that book is life insurance,
Mhm.
right? And it was part of this transition where it was like, if I'm doing something and it doesn't feed back into this industry, I need to look at cutting it out. It
Mm.
has to go somewhere else, right? Because there's so much like the reason the education about what life insurance can do isn't out there in a bigger way is primarily because people get very good at life insurance, make enough money to be very comfortable, and then go do other things.
Right.
But what would happen if we actually said, you know what, we're going to just be committed to excellence in our craft and get better and better and give more back to the final expense clients that need final expense products, the families that need solid term coverage to protect against those liabilities that exist for them, all of the families, every American that needs a better handle on how to control debt and minimize taxes in their life. And they can use life insurance to do that if someone actually broke it down to them and helped them understand what that looked like. But we get kind of a bit too fly by night. And so people don't trust it. The company doesn't stay around. The agency doesn't stay around. The agent doesn't stay around long enough. Right. Like I understand why a lot of people don't trust life insurance agents because everybody has someone in their family who was a life insurance agent for 6 months.
Yep.
And they're just like, like I hear what you're saying, but my cousin Pookie, he was a life insurance agent, and nobody, it didn't do anything for anybody. I
Yeah.
get it, right? How do we fix that?
Right.
It's by becoming more successful at our craft, by getting really good at it, and sharing what we're learning, sharing all these tools, tips, tricks with people in as many ways as we possibly can. I love social media for that. right? It's one of the reasons that I mean, yeah, I know if you follow my stuff, I post stuff all the time talking about life insurance, and I'm going to keep doing it until as many people as I can influence to actually look at how life insurance can benefit them. Do it, and it's going to be a long time before everybody that I can reach actually does that. So I got my work cut out for me, and that's part of that. Like, commit to a career, an industry that has a very powerful purpose. Like,
Hmm.
what we do matters, and make a commitment to that. If you commit to excellence in that, you're going to help our industry. You're going to help yourself. I guarantee you'll help yourself if you do that. And the rewards that you're going to ultimately get for doing that are going to be far greater than anything. Imagine your wildest dreams of what you think your career could do for you. Double that if you commit to excellence in this industry for a decade. Double that. Quadruple it if you commit to 2 decades of excellence in this industry, right? That's what's possible. That's what I'm excited about. And I want more people who are looking at this industry to take it, like, start off that way. It took me a decade to realize that. And even over the last 7 years, still trying to figure out a lot of stuff to make that happen. But start off with that as your intention. And man, there's some people who are just getting started in this industry that are going to be so far past where it took me a decade to get to. And that excites me. And I look forward to it. Hopefully, those people, I'll say this because I'm on here with you, Tim. I
Yeah.
hope some of those people are in your organization, and I hope some of those people are in my organization, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
no question, right?
want them to be in both, because, like, that's the thing. Like, there's no competition really in this industry.
Well, there's
Again,
so many agents. I mean,
1.3 trillion.
yeah,
Like, I can't steal your business. You can't steal mine, because there's just so much.
yeah,
So it's cool to be able to be a part of that. So I appreciate you. Appreciate you putting stuff like this out there, and I hope that anyone who's watching and listens really engages in the conversation.
yeah,
Right? Like, listen and hear this stuff, but, like, engage in the conversation. Be a part of it. Make a commitment, because uh, this is a industry and a career of significance. Joe Jordan, a good friend of mine, has said that multiple times. This leads to a life of significance if you do this right. And so I'm excited for it, and I appreciate people like yourself who are sharing that and putting that opportunity out there for more individuals. And it's going to be interesting to watch this industry over the next 10 to 20 years. So I'm excited to be a
yeah,
part of it.
yeah. It's gonna be very interesting. I'm super excited. Well, Edward, appreciate you coming on, man. I feel like our audience has just gotten bathed in a 50-minute session of freaking value. So I know this is probably gonna be one of our top videos. So I'm really excited for that. And for people that want to reach out to you, maybe ask you some more questions or see what it looks like to work with you, how can they find you?
Um, on Instagram, I am Edward Pritchett. You can go there. YouTube, I have a channel. It's called Life Insurance Today. So check out. I do a lot of training, a lot of additional information, just breaking things down in the industry there. Um, and the other place, I'm glad TikTok survived, so I still have a TikTok channel. I put a lot of the more short form stuff, where if you just want a little tidbit of information, you can check it out there.
Awesome. Ladies and gents, thanks for showing up. We'll see you in the next one.